Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're talking about what may be Nintendo's most important game of the Switch 2 generation. This game, its potential, is absolutely insane, and so we're going to be diving into some of these incredible possibilities for 3D Mario, but also looking back at a rumor from November of 2023, because since then we have learned some things that show at least part of the rumor seems to be coming true. And if part of the rumor is coming true from what we've already learned, then perhaps all of it is coming true. And if that's the case, what it suggests about this next 3D Mario, well, it's going to be crazy. And I mean that in the best way possible, and so that's what we're getting into today. Before going forward, let me present you this message about CaveGamers. CaveGamers can be your source for high quality and authentic retro games. If you're looking to find an old piece of hardware or a game that you've always wanted or you're trying to build upon your collection, CaveGamers may be the ideal fit for you. It's authenticity that you can trust. Counterfeits are a big issue in retro gaming, but not at CaveGamers. They carefully inspect every item and receive guarantee that everything they sell is 100% authentic. Every item is cleaned, thoroughly tested, and ready to play. And there's a wide selection. Whether you're hunting for classic titles, rare gems, or retro consoles, CaveGamers has thousands of unique products to choose from. There is something for every gamer and collector. And there's also hassle-free returns. If for whatever reason something goes wrong, they've got you covered with a 90-day return policy. Your satisfaction is their priority, and you get free shipping for all orders over $25. So make sure to check out cavegamers.com, it will be linked in the description below, and if you're looking for a discount, well, you can use my discount code, Andres10. And also, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches, so if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. So this crazy rumor from late 2023 is coming from Nash Weedle. Many of you may be familiar with Nash Weedle, we've discussed them several times in the past. Not everything they have said in the past has come to fruition. They have a history of talking about the timing for Breath of the Wild 2, and that was very off. Of course, they talked about this before the big pandemic situation, and that likely had something to do with how long we waited for Breath of the Wild, or now we know it as Tears of the Kingdom. But since then, they've also talked about other things, and some of the things that only they talked about they've been correct about, such as Metroid Dread and its details, and most recently, Mario and Luigi Brothership. No one else was talking about this game being in the June Direct from last year, but they were, and it was there, and it came out when many thought it was very unlikely. And now again, Nash Weedle has provided a rumor or leak that seems unlikely to be true, at least it did, until what we take into consideration of what we know now. So on November 26, 2023, Nash Weedle said, "I can't confirm this, but I think the new 3D Mario will arrive a few months after the launch of the new console." And this is the part that I find really interesting, because what did we just see with the first look trailer for Switch 2? Not 3D Mario. What we saw was Mario Kart, which comes with a heavy implication that Mario Kart is going to be the launch title for Switch 2. The same way how they showed Breath of the Wild off first when they revealed the Switch 1, or the same way they showed off Metroid Dread first when they revealed the Switch OLED, it seems likely that Mario Kart is going to be the day one Switch 2 title. Perhaps there will be more, but something like Mario Kart would mean that 3D Mario would have to be at least a few months afterwards. Which is not something many would have predicted back in November of 2023. Back in 2023, the expectation was that 3D Mario was the most likely launch title. We even had Andy Robinson from Video Games Chronicles saying that that's what he had heard, that 3D Mario would likely be the launch title. And so to say that 3D Mario would not be the launch title so far in advance, that's a very bold thing to suggest, when we had just gotten Tears of the Kingdom, so with no major 3D Zelda, considering Nintendo's history and them wanting to have a strong launch title, 3D Mario was the best bet. And what this suggests is that Nash Weedle may have been onto something, they may have some legitimate sourcing here. And so what was the first part of this rumor that is so insane? Well, here it is. Leak Express. Would you like to see our mustachioed hero in the next Mario 3D game visit worlds from other Nintendo series? Well, it seems that Nintendo has already experimented with this, and it could become a reality at some point. Can you imagine Mario traveling through Hyrule or piloting the R-Wing? And they put this little imagery here. This rumor seems insane to think about, the idea that Mario could be visiting other worlds. So considering how crazy the idea is, it seems like this concept is pretty unlikely. But going back to 2023 to say that 3D Mario would not be a launch title for Switch 2, that also seemed unlikely at the time, but now, not so much. And so what might this concept mean for the game? Well, taking a look at an interview with Yoshiaki Koizumi, the producer for Super Mario Odyssey, he talked about how with Mario Odyssey, the devs were noticing that there was a lot of different areas that were interesting they could find, but there was nothing there. And so what did they do? They started putting more and more coins and interesting things you could find as you explore around the world. And what you might find interesting about this is that it sounds very similar to what they did in Breath of the Wild. There are a lot of interesting places you could explore and find, and so they would put different things there to collect as a reward for your adventures and your creativity. Both Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey were very similar in that way. They were very open experiences compared to their predecessors, and they rewarded you for your creativity. And as we saw in 2017, Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild hit record highs. They reached a much larger audience, everyone was talking about these games and all the cool things you could do, and they spearheaded the generation of Switch 1, and now the Nintendo Switch is on pace to becoming the best-selling console of all time. And so you might be wondering how this is relevant to the rumor. I'll get to that. What I want to hone in on right now, though, is the advantages of open exploration. Nintendo saw that what they did with Super Mario Odyssey brought the 3D Mario series to another level. And so we saw them continue to push this with 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. As opposed to adding content that was similar to the rest of 3D World, what they did instead was add a whole other adventure that was open world. They went even more open than Mario Odyssey with Bowser's Fury. And many have theorized that this is the direction Nintendo is going to take the next Mario. Go bigger, more open. And looking at the success for Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Bowser's Fury, and other Nintendo games that went bigger, they saw record highs, incredible success. And so I do think going into the next Mario game with a vastly more capable system, Nintendo likely is going to make the next Mario also a big adventure with a lot of openness that will reward you for creative exploration. I have also personally theorized that because there may be more of an emphasis on open exploration, they may want to introduce a more consistent mount. They had Plessy in Bowser's Fury, perhaps they'll bring back Yoshi and he won't just be a transformation or a creature you can possess for particular levels, but more of a companion you'll have throughout the entire course of the game. When we consider they teased Yoshi at the end of the first Mario movie, and the next Mario movie is coming out in April, and also this year it's Mario's 40th anniversary and Yoshi's 35th anniversary, so there are likely going to be a variety of celebrations for these particular characters. It also makes sense that Nintendo's going to use all of this to cross-promote each other and lead to stronger sales. Which brings me to another point. Mario Wonder and other Mario games saw increased sales thanks to the Mario movie. Nintendo has documented these improved sales. But specifically with Mario Wonder, we saw some design changes, we saw a new voice for Mario, Nintendo started going in a new direction. And the looks of these characters were new but also reminiscent of a prior time. They offer a little bit of nostalgia there. And we're sort of seeing a little bit of that in the latest Mario Kart as well. The next era of Mario feels very different from the last few decades, while also still feeling iconic at the same time. And something I appreciated from Mario Wonder, and even more so with Mario Kart from what we've seen so far, is the level of expression we're seeing in the characters. It's far greater than prior Mario entries. And I think these improved facial animations that we're seeing across the board, that is the new standard for Mario. They are meant to be expressive, and when we think about what Nintendo's doing with the movies and the animation work there and how expressive they are there, I think Nintendo's trying to raise the bar overall. And so with the next 3D Mario, not only do I expect it to be a big grand adventure with more openness and things you can do, but also the characters are going to be far more expressive than they were in Mario Odyssey. And while this next 3D Mario is not going to have the same story or a linked story to the movie, I do think there is some strategy behind the allure of these modern Mario games and these modern Mario movies. I don't think it's a coincidence that we saw an expanded roster in Mario Wonder, or an even more so expanded roster with Mario Kart 9. We have 24 racers now on the track. I think the idea is by bringing in all these different characters with their expressiveness, it reminds people of what they see from the movies. So the idea is to cross-promote each other here. And so what does that mean for 3D Mario? Well, we got the 40th anniversary coming along. I think they're going to make this a big, grander adventure. They saw how successful that was for Mario Odyssey. They're also going to play into the different characters and the expressiveness of them, which will allow people to relate to these characters more so and think about the movies and vice versa. And all of that is going to combine into a megaton game in terms of sales potential, which they are going to want in that first year of Switch 2. This Mario game, we assume, is going to be an exclusive for Switch 2. It's going to be one of those games that people are going to need to get the console for. And so Nintendo is likely aiming to make this one very special, as they always do for every 3D Mario. But then taking into consideration the rumor about Mario visiting different worlds, how does that relate to everything else we're discussing? Well, think about how I was talking about bringing in different characters, incorporating them, having a greater level of expression, and how that can relate to the movies and also cross-promote. It may not just be about the movies, but also the Universal Park, merchandising, different games. There is some potential there. Now, I understand some people might not like the idea of Mario going to the world of Metroid or Star Fox. That might not feel like a really good fit. But we don't necessarily know which worlds Mario would be visiting here. Maybe it's a Donkey Kong world, maybe it's a Yoshi world, maybe it's a Luigi's Mansion world. Worlds that are still Mario universe centric. It doesn't have to be outside of the Mario universe. But even if the 3D Mario team does decide to dive into some of these other universes here, there might be a little bit of a smash effect where we see other Nintendo franchises, and because 3D Mario is so popular, people then are willing to give these other franchises a try. And so what if the next 3D Mario kind of follows the Mario Odyssey formula, but a bit grander, maybe even more open, more vast, with more things to do, but also, on top of being more kingdoms from the Mario universe, it's some kingdoms from other Nintendo universes. I think there has to be a balance here, because if they go too far in this direction, it wouldn't feel right for 3D Mario. But that doesn't mean they can't pull it off. If there's any team that I think could pull it off, it would be the 3D Mario team. Let's remind ourselves that this team does dare to be weird. Look at Mario Odyssey. In New Donk City, you have these realistically proportioned humans in suits that doesn't seem to fit the Mario world at all, yet they pulled it off. Or how about the Tyrannosaurus Rex, or that gothic-looking castle area? All these areas you saw in Mario Odyssey weren't necessarily your typical Mario universe fit, but they still put it in there. They dared to try something different. So maybe they will dare to try something different this time and incorporate other Nintendo universe worlds into the grander universe of Mario. And so I think we're actually in for a really big deal here for this next 3D Mario, even if the rumor isn't true. Although considering what's come true so far, I kind of think there's gotta be something to this. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.